My name is Kevin Waters. I live at 851 Madison Street in Harrisonburg. I worked all my life, mainly in Luray. I work here now. I've had worse and worse physical conditions that have prevented me from working full time with my knees and my legs and my balance. For 2 years, I was homeless and sleeping on the ground near First Presbyterian Church on Court Square. I began to volunteer at OCP in the kitchen. Eventually, I became the dessert chef at OCP, our community place, and I still work there part-time. But I didn't earn enough to pay for an apartment, plus some days I was sick and unable to work. OCP helped me to get a housing choice voucher from the Housing Authority, and then they moved me into a 3-bedroom house I share with 2 other men like me. When I'm working, I pay $101 a month, and HA pays $4.99. When I am sick and not working, HA covers most of my rent. This allows me to have some money for groceries, toiletries, and other needs. The voucher helped me to stop living on the streets and in shelters. I'm happy with my place and thankful for the support I get from OCP and the Housing Authority. Please approve the Bluestone Development Project because it will help more people like me in our community, people who really want to leave the shelter and have a place of their own. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening or good night or whatever it is.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning. My name is Chris Gamble. I live at 600 Norwood. I'll be as brief as I can. I'm from Waynesboro. I was born with open spina bifida. And as I've aged a little bit, my health basically deteriorated to the point where I lost my employment and subsequently my home. I ended up here in Harrisonburg and working closely with our community place to obtain a voucher and to hopefully obtain some housing. Well, just to address the importance of the voucher and to address the housing situation in Harrisonburg, I did get the voucher, and because of my health, I was moved to the top of the list. Well, the housing situation in Harrisonburg dictated that I still had to wait 7 months to get housing. And during that 7 months, I was obviously disabled and homeless, which was a problem because that prevented me from pursuing the medical care that was needed and the physical therapy and et cetera. And since I've been housed, I've been able to do those things as well as obtain some in-home health care and things that were needed that were impossible when I was homeless. So that being said, the additional housing in Harrisonburg is invaluable, and to anyone that was in my situation, it would definitely be a blessing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I'm sorry, it's past my bedtime, and I have 3 teenagers, but I'm the case manager at our community place. I'm here on behalf of my clients, and I'm not going to try to cry but I'm also on behalf of my family. Part of the reason where we are at today and that we're a family as a whole is because we got a voucher. When I was much younger. My son was born with some medical issues. At that time, we were really struggling even just to get by, and I want to say, like many people, that will utilize these vouchers one emergency away from being homeless. That emergency happened. My son ended up with sepsis, meningitis, epilepsy, acquired brain injury, just from an emergency. I wasn't able to work. We lost everything we had. Because of us trying to get by, my husband was in and out of jobs, just trying to find that one job that could help us have more income. We didn't qualify for FMLA. We lost everything we had. We got hooked up with the Mercy House, who introduced me to the world of vouchers. I had never heard of this. That would have helped our family many times before, but this was really important to helping us get back on our feet. Through that voucher, we secured housing. My husband secured a better job. My husband went back to school. I had 3 kids at home, but my husband was able to go back to school because of that voucher and secured a job making twice of what he was making before the voucher. After that, motivated me to go back to school. I wanted to help other people. I wanted to advocate to help people that I knew just needed that chance. So I was actually able to go back to school because of that voucher. I became a caseworker at our community place, and I've been able to see the success of my clients based on the voucher of giving them the opportunity just to live, just to be able to have basic human rights, access to the supports and services for medical conditions. It's a human right that this voucher provides. It's opportunities for families. One voucher changed 5 lives for my family. I am no longer in a voucher. Our family is no longer in a voucher. We are in a place where we are functioning. My kids were able to secure the services that they needed, the income, and it all started from a voucher that gave us those opportunities. So please remember that as you vote today. Thank you.
I'm Sam Nichols. I live on Maryland Avenue. Tonight, in the last few folks, sorry, I've known these folks a long time, and I'm very proud of them. We've seen how important housing is for our lowest income residents, including folks who are elderly and disabled, many of whom, unfortunately, are homeless in our community. For me, this is a justice issue. It's that low-income people have as much right as the rest of us to housing, but it's very hard to find in our community. Tonight, early on, a woman stated that we have everything we need in Harrisonburg. It works, don't change anything. I think she's gravely wrong. I think that our housing survey and some of the data that was presented tonight by staff shows how much we need affordable housing, and especially for the lowest income folks in our community. In just thinking through some of the numbers, my estimate is hopefully this project would reduce our homeless population by somewhere between 25% and 30%, at least over the next several years. As Mr. Wong talked about different types of vouchers, the CSB has access to 40 vouchers for their permanent supportive housing program, which combines placing people into housing with supportive mental health treatment. But they can only use 20 of those vouchers because they can't find anywhere for the other 20. The same thing happens all the time at OCP. We just can't find the places to put people. We need more housing. I was thinking about some of the numbers that I read from the developers about placing some of this loan money into the housing trust fund. The idea was, 40,000 of it would be loaned back. If there's 500 units, that's $20 million that could potentially go into our housing trust fund. Now, if they did away with that proffer, as has been suggested, and they only donated $10,000, that would still be $5 million into our housing trust fund. So there's some real potential here for benefits to our community. The mayor led us through 2 years of homeless forums. Faith in Action and other community groups worked for 2 years to bring affordable housing as a priority before us. The city paid for an excellent housing survey to be done that took about a year, give or take. And here we are another year later trying to get some affordable housing built. It's been 6 years. Let's build for our people in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, second row. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Casey Kettler. I reside at 242 East Water Street. I'm here on behalf of Climate Action Alliance of the Valley and Livable Harrisonburg to support Bluestone Town Center. We support it because in a growing city, we need walkable, bikeable, transit-oriented development. And our city is growing. New housing developments are going up all over the city and the county and haven't begun to catch up with demand. Last year, the median time for a home to be sold was 5 days. So there will be more housing. We will need another elementary school. It's not a question of whether our city should grow. It will grow. It's not a question of when our city will grow. It is growing right now. The question is, what will we grow into? The housing here that will create the least resistance is unaffordable, unwalkable, low-density, single-family homes on large lots. We see this all the time. We build single-family homes on as much farmland and forest as we can. No one can walk or bike to businesses from there, so we build huge strip malls and parking lots, like the one in front of Rose's. We ensure that the only way for people to get around is by driving. Then, unsurprisingly, we have traffic. Transportation is the #1 source of carbon emissions in Virginia. It is ground zero on the fight against climate change. And there is one way to get cars off the road: to provide alternatives. We need walkable, bikeable, transit-oriented communities like Bluestone Town Center. Bluestone Town Center is adjacent to the high school and Bluestone Elementary, so kids can walk to school again. It includes a sidewalk for people to walk to the nearby Food Lion. It includes mixed-use space and pocket parks, so people can easily walk to businesses and gathering spaces. It has 3 bus stops running through the development. Includes proffers for bike lanes along Erickson and shared use paths throughout the development itself. From there, it connects through the Friendly City Trail to multiple neighborhoods, 3 parks, and the middle school. To sustain local business and to take advantage of those connections, we need one other thing: density. We need density with mixed use, because that means that you can get a gallon of milk without burning a gallon of gas. That means that you can walk down the street to your neighborhood coffee shop. It means that you can spend more time in parks instead of parking lots. Our city is growing. Down one path, you can vote no. We can build more single-family homes and strip malls, sprawl out into the county. We can ramp up our carbon emissions, guarantee more traffic for everyone, and still not provide housing for those that need it. Down another path, you can vote yes. We can save rural land from car-centric development and car-dependent sprawl. We can provide for the needs of the community and fight climate change at the same time. We can grow into a more sustainable city, a more walkable city, a more equitable city. In other words, a friendly city. And to those who are genuinely worried that their neighborhood might change, who are afraid of what that change might look like, I say that we are all friends and neighbors, and sometimes that means we have to tell our friends difficult truths. Our city can't stay the same, but it can grow into something better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Isaac Whitmer. I live on Rockingham Drive. First, I want to thank City Council for approving the rezoning for an apartment building just down the street where I live on Chicago Avenue. Our city desperately needs more higher density housing, and not just on the south end of town. We need it everywhere. We need higher density housing to reduce our dependence on cars, to make it easier to walk and bike. Apartment buildings are more energy efficient. If we believe that climate change is a threat, then we need to build our town in a way that is more resilient. I also want to make the financial case that I haven't heard very often. Graphs that plot the income per square mile show that higher density areas generate significantly more income than suburbs do. Intuitively, it makes sense. Lower density areas cost more to maintain the public infrastructure and generate less in taxes due to there being fewer people. Let that sink in. Higher density areas are cheaper for the city. But the issue that concerns me the most are affordable housing and climate change, and all projects that address both of these are critical. At the Planning Commission meeting last month, we first heard the concern about the farm. I'm hesitant to get into it because of the update Michael Wong presented today, but I will anyway. It was described as a CAFO, or concentrated animal feeding operation, but no one defined what a CAFO is, because if they used the legal definition and the same definition used in health impact studies, we would learn that this farm does not qualify. To qualify, it would need to have 55,000 turkeys, not the 9,000 that this farm has most of the year. This farm is not a CAFO by a large margin. The health concerns around this farm are based on conjecture. Additionally, this farm was annexed 40 years ago. By law, once the buildings need to be replaced, the farm is dead and cannot be farmed anymore. Multiple sources close to this farm have pointed out that this farm will not last. With that, I'll close. I hope this project and many more like this are approved. Then we can move forward, making our city an even more friendly city. Friendly for people who want alternative transportation and people who just need a place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on row 2? Okay, row 3.
There's
Got
Councilman
5 minutes?
Fleming, they're passed out. Oh, I won't take 5 minutes, Mayor Reed. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of support for increased housing stock in the city of Harrisonburg. My name is Gail Brunk, and I am the Executive Director for Valley Associates for Independent Living, also known as VAIL. VAIL provides an array of services to individuals with disabilities within our 5-city and 5-county service area. Last fiscal year, VAIL served 91 individuals through direct service that reside in the city limits of Harrisonburg. Every year, VAIL conducts a needs survey. This past year, as is consistent with the past 10 years, affordable housing remains in the top 5 needs identified by individuals living with a disability. This year it was number 3, with 43% responding that affordable housing was a need for them. VAIL takes many calls from individuals looking to secure affordable housing and, most importantly, accessible housing. I stand here tonight in support of affordable, accessible housing for the city of Harrisonburg. I also stand here tonight as an employer. VAIL employs 14 individuals, several of whom are looking and hoping to be able to afford a home in our community. VAIL staff are essential workers for our city. They are looking to rent and hopefully own within the city limits, and finding the housing stock in their price range is limited to non-existent. I was disheartened on Liz's slide when she listed the incomes, as I was so proud of the raises I was able to give this past year, only to find out my staff is in the low and very low income range. So it is also your essential workers, your social workers, in this community that are in need of affordable housing. The handouts I gave you are from the Center for Health and Research Transformation as they relate to housing and individuals with physical disabilities. Please take time to review them at some point. You will note that they offer opportunities for policy changes and point out ways that housing challenges around affordability and accessibility are exacerbated for individuals with physical disabilities. Housing plays a critical role in improving health outcomes and costs. Thank you for your time and attention, and I hope you will support this effort.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Council, I know you can appreciate the fact that I told my wife that I would be speaking to you tonight on Valentine's Day and skipped out on our Valentine's Day evening. So I'm not going to give you the 3 pages of remarks that I have in my pocket. Instead, I'm going to speak to not only the council here this evening, but also the individuals that showed up here tonight with very good points opposing this development. I live at 1036 South Dogwood Drive, right in the heart of many of the neighborhoods that are here tonight opposing the project. The reality is that if I had brought all of the people with me tonight that I could have, much like the folks that were so eloquent in the front row this evening, you would be hearing from children and working parents and people in this community that it simply doesn't work for anymore, that we don't have enough housing. The reality is that even if you came here tonight to oppose this development and you win, that they vote it down, we all lose. Because the reality is we need some solutions that we don't currently have. This evening should teach us one thing, if nothing else, how difficult it is to develop this type of housing, get it through the NIMBYism, and get it built. The reality is we cannot wait, and we are behind. We've been behind for some time. And as often is the case, Attorney Brown is always the voice of reason. He's probably my favorite guy on the dais because often his, I like you too, Andy, I really do. But Chris Brown reminded me something that I did not have in my prepared comments this evening. We currently do not have a housing trust fund. This council voted in, or at least the previous council voted in, a resolution in support of a housing trust fund. It has gone nowhere. Even if these developers tonight showed up with a big check and wanted to give it to us to put into a housing trust fund to be able to develop housing, we couldn't receive it. I challenge this council to make good on the resolution that you have already passed to implement and start a housing trust fund. I'm the executive director of Mercy House. I bring more resources to this community than a lot of people in the housing region that should be bringing tax credits and good development to our region, because I'm able to leverage resources to be able to draw funds from the state Virginia Housing Trust Fund, to be able to do rapid rehousing, which, by the way, is another way of saying taking people who don't have a home and putting them back into homes. For those that talked about us putting a development the size of Elkton in this small area, in the last 2 years, my staff have housed exactly the same amount of people that currently reside in the town of Dayton. This is housing instability. It's costing our schools, it's costing our policing, it's costing our community. And the reality is that if this dies tonight, we have nothing else on the horizon that's even remotely adequate. And that should bring people out. The reality is I couldn't get this many people in this room if we were talking just about affordable housing. The fact is it's about a development that's in their backyard. It's in my backyard too. But the reality is we've got to do something. And so I implore you as a council, if this is not it, we've got to go to work right now to figure out what is. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, Chris, I'll buy that water for $7.
Good morning. Thank you so much for taking so much of your time this evening to deliberate about this project. My name is Noah Yoder, and I work with Mercy House. And today is the 15th, which marks a very important day for one of my clients. I have had a woman with cerebral palsy who was also legally blind on my caseload for 13 months, and we have spent over $9,000 making sure that she has a roof over her head. And today, she is able to start a lease with her Section 8 voucher, which is incredible. But the fact that it took this long is unacceptable. And I'm very tired tonight, and it's not because of the hour. It's because I'm tired of telling single moms that they have to work 2 jobs and spend less time with their kids in order to cover the rent. I'm tired of telling single moms that they have to make the tough choice between leaving an abusive husband and facing housing instability or staying with him. This problem is so much bigger than facing extra cars on your commute. This is something that is affecting way too many people. And I am so tired of not having enough solutions. I implore you, please. I know this isn't perfect. I'm encouraged that they're willing to work with you over the next 10 years. Please approve this. We need it. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Andy Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of First Step, located on Franklin Street in Harrisonburg. And for some of you that know me, I have been in this community and worked in this community for a number of years. Started at First Step in 1995, became the housing counselor in 2002, and the Executive Director in 2008. But I've been working with housing for many, many years. And we are at such a crisis point. You've heard it. I have worked with survivors of intimate partner violence and trying to help them find housing for many years. And our housing advocate, our current housing advocate, wanted to come today. She was here earlier but couldn't stay so late. So I'm speaking for her as she wanted to tell you how hard it is as she works with survivors and their kids who come into the shelter who need a safe place, survivors from the city of Harrisonburg. They are not safe in their homes. They come to us and they have to stay in a shelter until they can find their own housing. And it's so difficult. Even with the Section 8 voucher, we have survivors that receive Section 8 vouchers and they are such a blessing, but then we can't find housing for them to use those vouchers. Landlords that will rent to them, places that are available, and they're stuck. And sometimes that means they go back to their abusive partner. Sometimes, just as Noah mentioned, they don't leave because they don't know what the next steps are. They don't know what they're going to do. I've done this work for so long, and it has gotten so bad. And I appreciate that this council and the council before has started the conversation, who has done the study, to have Liz in her position. We're really working towards such great things, but this housing is very important. And I'll just say, to go back to what Gail was saying, I have staff that work at First Step who cannot afford housing in the city of Harrisonburg. They are looking. They want to rent in Harrisonburg. They would like to buy eventually. It is just so very difficult. And we have tried to raise salaries, but we are a nonprofit, and we have, there's only so much we can do. And these are staff members. We are covering 24/7 to make sure anytime, day or night, there is somebody available to help a survivor who needs to get out of a dangerous situation. And so I just want to say that we are in support of this housing, and we know that this is not an easy decision. I know you all have a lot to take into account, and I know that you want to protect everybody and make the best decisions, and I appreciate that so much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
My name is Austin Bell. I grew up on Queen Anne Court, right off of Dogwood, right across from where this development is being talked about. And I want to come up and be a proponent of Yes in My Backyard. There's a lot of NIMBY response, but I want to come out as one of the youngest people in this council chambers tonight and say that for the next generation, we need some opportunities for this kind of housing, for this kind of process where we put a little bit more effort into a building development so it doesn't turn into these flops that we've seen around. So kind of a term that I've read recently is yes and instead of no but. So like, yes, approve this project, and what can we do for the next steps? How can we continue to follow through with the site plans and the engineering surveys instead of no, but maybe next time it'll all come together immediately. I would love to see as many trees on this property kept as possible, and I know that the developers will want to do things as cheaply as possible, and that's what helps it be affordable. But these green spaces and these pocket parks that can be part of this development, I would love to keep some of these trees. You know, they are some of the oldest trees that we have in Harrisonburg. They're not old, they're young cedars, but they are living and they are breathing just as we are, and we need to try and hold on to those as much as we can. So let's work together, keep moving forward, look at these site plans, try and get these things ironed out and make it as good of a community as we can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, row 4.